Good morning, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. Today is the 23rd of February, and the moon is in Capricorn. Capricorn is a get the job done kind of moon. It's a pragmatic moon. It's a realistic, tends to like to look at things uh, from a realistic perspective. And we have two aspects happening today that I want to share with you. So let's do that right now. Um, okay, here we go. So the first aspect occurs just before noon here on the east coast of the U.S., and that is a trine between Mars and Mercury. Mars and Mercury right here, that blue line. Trines are flowing aspects, and trines can either have the energy of Leo, which tends to make the trine more self-expressive and somewhat narcissistic, and a trine that has more of the energy of Sagittarius, which tends to be more broad-minded and wants to share the knowledge that somebody would have around a subject. The idea of Mercury being the planet of the mind in Pisces, the mind is in a very sort of ripe, imaginative place in Pisces. And then Mars in Cancer, not the happiest Mars, but certainly Mars in Cancer gets the job done. It's very tenacious in its nature. Now, Mars has been moving retrograde since the beginning of December and has also been out of bounds, out of the normal range of the ecliptic. And so when that happens, whatever planet is out of bounds tends to act without any kind of restrictions on it. And we certainly have been watching that at least here in the United States and probably all over the world. Now, that's the one thing that's happening, and it's very powerful. And it does have that energy of Sagittarius. It's one of those Sagittarius trines. And so this is a flow of information. These trines help us to integrate our knowledge into society's awareness. And so this is an opportunity where knowledge and awareness comes into society, that Sagittarius energy of exploration of how other people live and what's going on here, and let's make a moral judgment on things. So there's always like that sort of, here's the data, and how do you feel about it? In a way, is it fair? Is it not fair? Is it part of your worldview, or is it not? Right? Okay, so that's the trine, and then later today, um, at 9 o'clock tonight, we have Mars stationing direct. Mars stations direct tonight. And this is a chart for the United States. And it's interesting because Mars is at the very tippy top of the chart. In fact, when Mars goes direct at 9 o'clock at night, if you can get out there, you will see Mars very bright right above your head. Um, and when Mars is retrograde, it's actually closer to the Earth, so Mars is very bright at this time. Now, Mars is going to start moving forward. And so a lot of the frustration and this feeling of not being able to get ground underneath your feet to move forward is going to stop. At the same time, because of the situation we find ourselves in, um, there's a lot of pent up anger and frustration, right? And so that's going to express itself. Now, I wanted to pull up just a few charts. This is the United States Sibley chart, 1776, 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Many astrologers use There are a couple of charts for the United States. Many astrologers use this one. I tend to use this one. I like this one. I just want to point out that we are still in the midst of our Chiron return. In fact, the Chiron return, the last hit of our Chiron happened on the 18th. That was the same day that Leonard Peltier was released from prison after being there for 50 years. He went into prison in the 70s when we had our last Chiron return. So he spent a whole Chiron cycle in maximum security. And I'm happy to say that he's home at 80 years old. First time he's had a home of his own since he was 9 when he was taken away from his family and brought to the Indian schools. So this is man's life is a perfect encapsulation of what we have done to the indigenous folks. Um, One example of many of how we treat people that, quite frankly, are not white. Okay, so we also have Mars here sitting on the sun of the United States. It started its retrograde motion at 6, right here at 7, right on the north node of the United States. The north node is the direction of our destiny. In Leo, the United States destiny is to be a leader of a collective, of a sense of sharing, a shared value system, right? The eighth house is shared values. Um, and Cancer, that cusp of that house, shared values around taking care, right? Taking care of our people, taking care of each other. And then in the case of America, because it was such it was filled with immigrants, taking care of the immigrants, right? Who take care of the country. My grandparents came to America from Italy, um, both my grandfathers, and they came in and were able to, with a lot of hard work and a lot of struggle, create families that, furthered themselves, including myself, who, you know, was lucky enough to go to college and go to chiropractic college, become a doctor, and all of that. All of that is off the toil of my ancestors, right? So that's an American story. It's an American story. Okay. So Mars sits on the sun, our sense of identity, and now starts to move forward. It will eventually go over our Mercury. We have Mercury in Cancer. It's going to be opposing our Pluto, okay, and then coming back to the North Node. So in a way, we are coming back to our place in the world, perhaps, with this. But it is Mars on the sun. So this is a lot of anger. This is a lot of energy that we see here, okay? Along with the Chiron in Aries, right? The Aries is ruled by Mars. And we do have Mars in our chart at 22, which is right on Trump's sun and his Uranus and his North Node. So Trump tends to bring discord. Mars in Gemini can be, splitting energy, a separation, and certainly he has created separation in the seventh house deals with our allies, our friends, our enemies, and also how we relate within our own country to each other, right? So it's always going to be a challenge, even with Chiron opposite Saturn, Chiron in Aries, wanting to do your own thing, Saturn in in Libra, the rule of law. So there's always this push-pull anyway in America. We have a democracy. We have two parties. Well, had two parties. Now we have a confused party and an insane party. Okay, so we'll see what happens with that. But there's always this sort of push-pull in America. Okay, so I want to point that out. So we can expect people to, we're asking when will people wake up? Well, they're waking up. They're waking up now. Here's Donald Trump's chart right here. Here's Mars up here. It started right around here at 6, went over his Pluto, went over his Venus, went over his Saturn, and now it's going to move forward. Um, and once it moves into the 12th house, it's going to spend some time in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house is your house of self-undoing, and then eventually he's going to have his Mars return, and then it's going to exit his house of undoing. That actually doesn't happen till June 17th, so a couple of days after his birthday, he finally gets Mars out of this area of his chart and moves into his first house. This is also the house of hidden enemies. So he's not having very much fun. And then I also wanted to look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a Cancer sun with a Mercury in Cancer. Um, this is the chart I have for him. I do want to point out that Mars is right on his Mercury. And so this is, people aren't liking perhaps what he's saying, but there's a lot of energy to his words. He does have the South Node right now over his Pluto. The South Node is the releasing point. Pluto is the past. And in Virgo, it can be a sense of not being good enough. And so a lot of his insecurities are being expressed at this time through that South Node over Pluto. And Pluto is not a nice person and is not a nice planet, especially as the South Node goes over it. There's a lot of, we'll just say, poop coming out with all of this. So we can see how uh, the major players at this point, anyway, in the United States, how they're being affected by this Mars direct. All right, so that's what I want to say. So um, Mars direct, a lot of the frustration we're feeling, a lot of um, even the exhaustion that we're feeling is about over. People are waking up. Well, people are awake. There are a lot of awake people, but a lot of awake people were completely devastated by the switcheroo that happened at the election. And so we're gathering ourselves. We're coming together. Mars moving through Cancer. Focus is going to be on security, money, families, women, children. And as the spring, as things warm up and thaw out a little bit, climactically, I think we're going to see a big push forward uh, for people standing for what is important to them and moving forward on that. So the party is just getting started, guys. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe. I do have a membership now. I haven't sort of finished all the things for it, but I do have some members, so thank you for joining. I have two levels. One is just a general level, sort of support level, and one of them is a little bit higher level where I'm going to be doing some personal or some lives and different things like that so we can get to know each other a little better. And then as I get to know my membership, we'll talk we'll relate to each other what we're most important most interested in looking at, and I'll certainly will be doing that. So this is sort of a growing thing. We're growing together because I'm a slow learner when it comes to that stuff. And check out last night we did Mystic Sisters. You can check that out on Ona's channel, Ona's Tarot. We did it live, and there's a recording now on her channel. And I just put out the Tarot Scope, so you can check those out for next month. Next month is going to be, but we'll walk every step of the way. Take care, everyone. Have a great Sunday, and I'll see you on Monday. Namaste.